All right, welcome my audience from ECA staff and other members of our community. My name is Kenneth Ellington, and this is our first AAAMM session, Ask Me Anything session of the year. So we'll be doing this probably twice a month for our Mondays. So we'll basically be going over just different topics that you might want to ask me, any of my coaches, any of my staff, just about their career, business related topics for cybersecurity, then just different roles that I may be staffing for or roles in general that you may be interested in. So you guys have any questions about that at all, just let me know. Drop a questions in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it for you. So quickly, I want to go over, new opportunities that we're trying to staff for. So first things first, we have a staffing company called Ellington Solutions, and we staff for IT and cybersecurity positions for GovTech mostly. So state and federal and local normally. So our biggest one we're trying to get is a detection engineering position for state of Florida, out of Orlando, if I'm correct. I think it's fully remote, but you need a TSI clearance. For my knowledge, that'll be up on our site probably sometime by the end of this week. So if you're interested in it, just let me know. Let's see if we have any questions at all in the chat. None so far. Awesome. So for my current role, right, for my clients, I work for myself full time now. I am a senior threat hunter, so that role or that job entails different things, right? Threat hunting typically then detection engineering. Detection engineering is very, I would say, reactive more so, and you more likely know what you're looking for compared to a threat hunting. It is much more proactive in the sense that you're trying to go out and proactively prevent threats from happening or incidents from happening inside your environment. So it's a lot more hunting, hence why I call it threat hunting. So you have a lot more freedom to kind of check out different sources, different areas of your environment to see what's happening. Your job is kind of patch the different holes inside your systems that aren't being managed by your normal teams. So that's another thing that we try to do as well. Nigel.
Here.
Everyone, welcome Nigel. Nigel is one of my threat intelligence meets for our courses for Ellington Cyber Academy. So we're glad to have him on.
Appreciate you having me, man.
So Nigel actually has his own threat intelligence course for ECA. The next cohort for that will probably be sometime this spring, so probably April, more than likely. So you guys have questions about it, just let us know. We kind of walk you through the process, what it entails. So Nigel, I was just going over for our audience, and this is recorded, by the way. So anybody that can't make it, it'll be uploaded for the YouTube channel. And this is streaming on, I think, LinkedIn and YouTube, I believe, for our channels. But I was just quickly going over some of the roles we have for our staffing side, and then what I do for my job. If you want to do a little intro about yourself as well, Nigel.
Yeah, so my name is Nigel, Nigel Boston. I'm a lead cyber threat intelligence analyst at my firm. I've been in cybersecurity for a little over 2.5 years. No prior cyber background or experience. I started as a help desk analyst. I did that for about 8 months and was able to transition to a junior cybersecurity role as my first role. And then a year later, I was promoted to a lead. So just a little bit about myself.
Nice. I guess, would you say it's hard to get into the threat intelligence sector in cyber?
Yeah, only because it's a specialized role, right? Most cyber roles are, like a SOC analyst, incident response, but cyber threat intelligence, our community is, I wouldn't say small, but very specialized, right? Only an organization that's mature can usually afford a cyber threat intelligence, program on its own. So
I agree. A lot of times they'll just kind of outsource this work to different firm, like a consulting firm like Ernst & Young, Deloitte, or like an MSP provider like ReliaQuest or like Deepwatch or GuidePoint, for example. But normally it's only for secure, more mature organizations. So if you're kind of like a small to medium company, it doesn't always make sense to build that in-house. You won't get the return on investment. So normally you just kind of outsource it as need be.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Then in your opinion, I guess what resources would someone need to learn or do to try to get inside the sector for cybersecurity?
Yeah. To get into cyber threat intelligence or just cybersecurity in general?
Cyber threat intelligence.
Yeah, cyber threat intelligence, being able to have critically think, being able to be curious. In cyber threat intelligence, you have to be curious and understanding what these threat actors and adversaries are doing. Staying up to date with the latest threat landscape is very important. As far as some hands-on skills, understanding your basic and foundational security knowledge, like understanding what, Linux, Mac OS, understanding the different types of threats, so ransomware, things of that nature. And I would say most importantly is being able to bring something different that may not be technical, but it can be a soft skill. So being able to communicate concisely and effectively, right? In cyber threat intelligence, we do briefings. For example, I do briefings with my CISO, some C-level suite, legal, things of that nature. So during those calls, you have to be very conscious of what you're bringing and prepared, because you can't really waste a lot of time and come into those meetings with fluff, right? They're straight to the business. This is what they need to care about. That's pretty much one of the main questions is, why do I need to know this? Why is this relevant to me? So how is this going to affect the business? So being able to communicate and being able to write. People that are in cyber threat intelligence usually have some kind of communications background. It's not needed, especially with like AI and stuff now. If you're good at prompt engineering, you could probably write a report how you need it to. But being able to write and communicate effectively, I say, is one of the most underrated but very important skills.
Gotcha. So it's not purely technical then.
No, no. Now, if you go into different like even more specialized roles in threat intel, let's say you're a malware threat intel, or let's say you're a vulnerability threat intel analyst, you may go into more in the weeds and have to understand specific how to like break down malware and reverse engineering and things of that nature if you want to go a technical route. But just being able to communicate and effectively figuring out what the different threats are to your organization is the primary responsibility as a cyber threat intel analyst.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. It's somewhere in my role, because normally how it's supposed to work, right? This doesn't always happen. You have threat intelligence and you have threat hunting, right? Threat intelligence will basically gather a lot of the resources and research perspective of it, and then they had for like either my team or the tech engineering team for us to do our job, basically. For example, my client is a little bit smaller, so I handle kind of all of that. I do the research for a lot of it, and then I actually do the hunts and build the rules for most of it. So I have a lot of on my plate, but I have a lot of freedom to kind of structure my day as I need to be, which I like a lot compared to with my last role. So it's a really, really cool sector to kind of be in. If you know what you're doing, right? Just always what we try towards our students to kind of like know how to market and sell yourself. That's a really, really important and crucial skill set. I think a lot of professionals are kind of missing. So yeah, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. For our own careers. I think most people here know I have my own business. Talked about a little bit at the start. But for me, I've been in cybersecurity and in tech since 2018 or so. I started off as a threat intelligence analyst, funny enough. Then I did software engineering. I did sim engineering. Then I did sim and SOAR consulting. Once I Ernst & Young for about 2.5 years. I left there this past September to work in business full time. And so I have different various clients across the country that kind of help out with various needs that they may have. So it took a lot of work to get towards this point. It was not overnight success, story by any means. But I am very, very blessed to be in this spot and position. I get to have a lot of cool people kind of build this up. So I met Nigel last year through Hunter. And I was looking for a threat intelligence instructor. And he said he was not interested in that. We kind of got to talking. And then we ended up here, which is another point I tell people to really do, like, network and put yourself out there, right? Because it actually does work. I'm not making this up, right? Everyone, like Nigel, everyone you've seen like ECA is through networking.
Yeah.
Grace, Grace, Henry, Marquise. I met Marquise through Henry. Marquisha, I met Marquisha through Henry as well. Yeah, basically everyone I've met through networking, basically. And that's
which
how it
makes
works.
which makes sense, right? In order to grow, you need to expand your network, right? Constant elevation requires expansion. So as far as you're elevating in your career, even if it's not with people at your firm, but you want to network with people outside of your firm, so you build these relationships. So as you want to grow in your career, you may hit the ceiling at your specific firm that you're at that moment. You have these group of other individuals that could potentially help you get to the next level. Ironically, I was already having thoughts of wanting to create a cyber threat intel course because obviously, I get asked a lot, like, what do you do? Like, so at that moment when you had reached out to me, it was like, okay, well, there's my sign. Let me not ignore this one again. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that and create the course, and it's been great.
Yeah, definitely putting yourself out there is really, really important. That's how a lot of the business gets done. I tell people every field has like a barrier of entry. Cybersecurity is no different. All right. If you want to be a doctor, your barrier of entry is, can you put up with school for 8 years and put down upwards of $500,000 student loan to get your degree? Right. Everyone can't or doesn't want to do that. Right. So that's the barrier to entry. Right. For cyber, I'd say the barrier to entry is probably a lot lower than most other fields. It's just really, really competitive at the bottom, right? So you have to be willing to kind of put yourself out there, develop your skill sets, right? Network, work a little bit harder than everyone else, right? Again, nothing in life is guaranteed except you're going to die one day. So, right, keep that like a grain of salt, but the work still needs to be done. So that's my stress point towards anybody that asks me, I want to do cybersecurity. And I kind of ask why, right? They say for money. I'm like, you make money a lot of other fields, right? Again, why you want to be cybersecurity? What sector do you want to be in cybersecurity? This is a very broad field, right? Um, a lot of times we hear like penetration testing. I'm like, you do realize that's a very, very niche set of skill sets, right? An area, right? Most firms do not need penetration testers, right? Um,
Right.
so so if you want to do that, you might just start off in a different field, GRC, maybe do sales support to get your foot in the door, and everyone doesn't want to do that, right? So again, just be honest with yourself for what your goals are and what you're willing to sacrifice to reach those goals. All right. If you live, another thing, I get asked a lot about like location. If you live like in Topeka, Kansas, right, you want to do cybersecurity, you may have to move, right? Because that market is just kind of small. There's not a lot of tech jobs out there, right? So if I want to do that, someone that is willing to move, right, who much more be willing to pick up their stuff and be more flexible, it's much more likely to get a job compared to towards you. That's just the reality of it, right? Again, know what you're willing to sacrifice and not willing to sacrifice, right? How much does it actually mean towards you? Just understand what your actual goals are. It's another piece of advice I give towards people. Anything to
Yeah.
add, Nigel?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say having a roadmap, right? Being realistic with yourself. And sometimes there's a lot of unrealistic expectations of getting into the field. Everyone's path is different. Some people it takes, many, many years, or some others it may take a year. So it all depends on the work and discipline that you have for yourself. Is going to determine how quickly and how successful you are. So if it requires you moving to another state, that may be the sacrifice that you may have to take. But there was a point in time where, a lot of the roles were remote. They're kind of going back from that, but maybe you might go back to remote. Who knows? But I would say is give yourself a realistic chance to get into cybersecurity. Outside of the money, obviously job security is, well, let me say the business of protecting data isn't going anywhere. So once you're able to find your specific domain, because cybersecurity is very broad, don't say, I want to get into security. Well, my next question is, what role in security? That tells me a lot about how much research the individual has done in being serious about wanting to get into cybersecurity. So if I hear someone saying, hey, I want to be a pen tester, while, it's doable, I wouldn't say that's the easiest path to start out with, but really do the research and see what the market is and what are the high demand skills needed so you can have a successful path getting into the field.
Yeah, I agree. I was checking the comments. But yeah, that's definitely a really big thing, right? So for me personally, I moved to Texas to start my career off in tech, basically. So I'm originally from Tampa, Florida. Don't mind the shirt. I'm just an OKC fan. Originally I'm from Tampa, Florida. I lived there for the majority of my life. And so it's a really big change for me when I had to actually leave the state, right? Because the first time I ever went to Texas was to look for an apartment. Second time was to take all my stuff and move there. I had no family, I had no friends there. It was literally just me by myself. So it was a really big like emotional and mental change for me to kind of take that on. All right. But I'm really glad I did it. I kind of got to have my college years because I went to school at USF, which is like in my city. So I've lived at home with my parents. It was the first time I ever lived by myself, right? So it was a big change, but Dallas is a much bigger city. There's a lot more business opportunities for me to grow up myself, which I use, right? So just be open and willing to new changes, new opportunities. I would say you never know what like how your life will change from it.
Agreed.
Oh, we have our first question. What are some entry level positions a person can pursue for cybersecurity?
Entry level positions.
Yes.
So, I would say I'm gonna throw a one that I don't hear often, but I personally think is an entry level position, and I would say is vulnerability management. I would say vulnerability management is an entry level position in cybersecurity. I would say some of the GRC roles are entry level. They're not as technical. I would say vulnerability management isn't as technical either. Obviously, a SOC analyst as well. Depending at the firm, they call that role different. You may be doing incident response, maybe just doing overall security operations center work, like so triaging alerts, phishing, stuff like that. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Those three. I would say like a cloud administrator as well. Technically, some may say it's not security, but I think it is personally. Depending on what you do, I know there's probably going to be a security aspect to it, but those are some roles I would say just off the top of my head. But vulnerability management, I think, is one that people sleep on.
Got you. Yeah. I'd say cloud support is an entry level role for a lot of companies. Getting bigger because a lot of firms are moving more resources towards the cloud. That's another big area as well that you can try to pursue. I would say for like not directly cybersecurity, if you want to pivot from that, like technical account manager would be one. Technically, like junior sales engineer for would be another one. Which Ralston, one of my former students, just got a technical account manager. He makes six figures doing it, basically, right? So the money, the money's still green, right? So he's not going to complain, right? And he keeps to travel to go to different places and kind of do that. So that's definitely an option. I know Cabron got was a security solutions engineer position at Micro, so now he works like Microsoft Technologies, right? He got paid a lot of money to do that as well, right? So there's definitely opportunities out there. Um, and Cabron came from a non-tech background. He worked as a server and he worked as education technology. So it's taking a little bit longer because he didn't have a technical background, but he still reached his goals, right? So just keep that in mind. Next question would be, how important is Security Plus cert to getting in?
I don't. I wouldn't say. So I promote, not promote. I advise some of the people who are aspiring to be in cybersecurity to, if not take the cert, but at least go over the information for that certification. Now, let's say if you have aspirations to want to work in like the government side of cybersecurity, that cert covers the DoD requirement that you would need to even work in that side of that, in that sector. The Security Plus is kind of like the Holy Grail certification as far as most, cybersecurity professionals have it. It covers a lot. It's very broad.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
broad.
yeah, it's very broad and it touches a lot of different things. But I always say it teaches you the lingo of security, right? Once you go over that, and pass the test, you'll understand certain terms. So like when I talk about like encryption or, VPNs, things of that nature, it touches on all of that and you'll be able to understand some of the lingo. So I think it's a good certification. It'll solidify at least that the basic knowledge of security. and that's a good entryway to start doing other things. Do I think it's the only thing you should get? No, I'm a strong believer of hands-on learning. So as you're probably taking the test, there's labs that you can do at home that'll help reinforce that knowledge that you've learned for that certification.
Yeah, I agree. If you do like government technology, getting Security Plus is a good bet. 'Cause a lot of DoD requirements have it. If you work for Department of Defense and any one of their adjacent agencies, then you'll be required, right? So I tell people you don't always have to get the Security Plus. Understand the material that's actually on it is the most important thing, in my opinion, right? Because the cert at the end of the day, it's still just a piece of paper, right? If I interview you, which I interview candidates because we have a staffing agency, and you can't talk towards what's on your resume, then it doesn't matter how many certs you have. I won't pick you compared to other professionals, right? So keep that in mind. There's other good certs that you can get to start your career off with, right? Depending on what technology sector firm uses, right? Let's say they use Splunk or Microsoft. You might want to get like Splunk Core User or Microsoft SC200, for example, right? Or if your firm is really big in CrowdStrike, you might get the CrowdStrike suite certifications, right? Because a lot of times they'll put that on that. They'll put like vendor-specific certifications that list the technology set that they actually have, right? So keep that in mind as well. Another big thing is get whatever cert your company will pay for, all right? So if they said they'll pay for a SANS cert, then get that, right? They're like $10,000 and they're expensive as hell. So it just literally just depends.
Yeah. And reinforce all of that time and money that you spent to get that cert with hands-on knowledge. Because if you just put that you got the Security Plus on your resume, I'm going to guarantee you, whoever interviews you is not going to be like, so when you took the Security Plus, did you understand that module about like, no, they're going to ask you a scenario-based question like, in the event of this malicious, whatever happens, that's what's you're going to need to know and practice. And the Security Plus is going to reinforce that knowledge about that scenario. But you actually doing it and practicing is what's going to help you pass that interview.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very big when I interview candidates, kind of asking them how they think through different things, right? You mean asking like a really random specific thing about some Splunk backend processes if they're like a Sentinel expert? Isn't really a test or skill sets, right? So I want to see how you actually think through different scenarios, right? How do you handle stressful situations, right? How do you communicate, right? That's a really big thing, right? You can be the most technically smart person to ever planet, but if you're an a-hole and you can't explain anything towards me, then I don't really care, right? I can't put you in front of a client, which means you won't get hired or placed. So being able to actually think through problems in different scenarios is really, really important. That's what hiring managers want. I know this because I speak towards them, right? This is what they ask me for. This is how our programs are designed. You've been judging outside of our capstone, Nigel, right? Our goal is to kind of see like what you know and what you don't know. For the things you don't know, are you able to actually explain why you don't know it and how you actually get the answer towards it, right?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, especially in my domain, being able to communicate effectively and concisely is very important. And that is across the board in security. You can be as technical as you want. You could have, architect type level of technical knowledge. But if you can't explain that to your manager, I mean, that doesn't do any good, right? So you're gonna have to find a way to break down very technical terms and things to non-technical people.
I agree. We have another question. So from Ferris Nabil, to follow up, what should the resume look like to convey leadership to get the entry level position? I'll go first, Nigel. So in my opinion, right, what I look for, right, on your resume is kind of a snapshot of what you've done, right? So if you're looking for an entry level position, let's say SOC analyst, right? Think about like what a SOC analyst does, right? And then try to break your resume down inside of that and try to map out projects towards that, right? So a SOC analyst may run a ticketing system, let's say Jira. They may use a SIM platform, let's say Splunk or Sentinel. They may use like an XDR platform, let's say Sentinel-1 or CrowdStrike. And they may use some type of other EDR, antivirus, right? So kind of build projects in that manner, or if you have previous work experience in it, it could be internship, could be freelance and stuff, doesn't matter. Put that on your resume and kind of design your bullet points and key highlights towards that different scenario, right? So if you were able to get your KPI metrics for your, let's say, a certain client you did in the past down towards a threshold for your contract, right? Note that in there, right? And do it in the time frame you did it in and how it actually impacted your client, how much it helped them out, right? Try to map it out towards some type of metric so it would actually measure against it as well. That'll be really beneficial towards you. Another thing would be make sure your LinkedIn is updated, because that is what I look for as a candidate, or not a candidate, as a hiring manager, right? So don't ever post anything negative, right? Don't curse people out. Don't threaten people on LinkedIn. Please don't do that. It seems to happen a lot more these days, right? Always be positive, right? Always try to help people out, right? At least post at least once a week, right? Make sure your profile is active, because recruiters and hiring managers, that's what they check. Because again, these are things they tell me. Nigel?
Yeah, I'm going to make it very simple. Create a Medium or GitHub page. You type in home lab projects for whatever domain that you're trying to do, and you learn hands-on knowledge of that specific domain. So if you want to do vulnerability management, go on Try Hack Me, do the, vulnerability management track, or, sign up for Kenneth's, offering of the vulnerability management teaching that we do, and get hands-on knowledge. And on your resume, you'll have a section that you can call projects, or you can put it under your key accomplishments, or whatever you want to do on that front. And you show hands-on experience. So you may not have that you worked at Microsoft doing vulnerability scans and doing remediation projects, things of that nature, but you'll have that same hands-on experience in a, like what we call a sandbox environment, a safe environment that you can do at your house. You can do a Nexus scan your home laptop, see what vulnerabilities on there. That is real world experience. That is the equivalent of having on the job experience. So I think outside of you listing the skills that you are learning about, doing these projects and highlighting them on your resume to say that you've done it hands-on is very important, especially as an entry-level person.
And the biggest thing for me is I just care, can you do the job, right? That's the biggest thing I care for as a hiring manager, right? If I put you on my client, where a client want to cancel the contract in the first week, right? The answer is no towards that. I'm much more likely to hire you, right? Say something else I thought was kind of smart, but I can't remember at the top of my head. So we'll go towards the next question. Next question is, are there professional organizations or conferences you would recommend joining or attending in regards to threat intelligence?
Yeah, as far as conferences, for example, there is the SANS Cyber Threat Intelligence Conference. I think this year it's in Virginia. That's one I would highly recommend. That's probably the biggest one when it comes to cyber threat intelligence professionals. There are others, Blue Team Con. There's, I think there's one happening next month, I think. I can't think of the nature, but I would say a lot of the other, like the vendors have specific conferences as well. So CrowdStrike may have one, and they'll have like an intelligence focus part of it. But if I was to say like what's the biggest one, it's the SANS Cyber Threat Intelligence Summit, and that's where you're going to find a lot of cyber threat intelligence professionals who will attend that and go to the talks and network. That's what I do, so that's the one I would recommend.
Yeah, that's those are some good pointers. There are more general cybersecurity ones as well, right? So there are conferences more related towards, I would say, actually doing demos and technical presentations, right? Then there are more conferences related towards networking. They're both very important, all right? Because again, being able to build a relationship in networking is how I got here. So having those type of relationships is how you get referred for jobs, it's how you get pushed up for promotions, right? So going to both of those are super important, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
From a networking perspective, right? Your local B-sides conferences, when they have them all across the country, are really, really good places to go. Normally, they're pretty cheap to go to, like maybe $30 most, right? And they host them in every major city across the country. So if you live in Dallas, you live in San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia, New York, Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte, Riley, they're all across the place, right? If you Google B-sides and B-sides, so BSIDES, and then your local city, it'll take you towards the homepage, and you can kind of see when they're going to host that. Next question would be, hey guys, how would you navigate trying to switch to a threat hunting IR role from a senior security cloud engineer cyber architect role? Got an interview this week with the managers telling me I'd have to move to another state and down level from my current senior level 3 role that's fully remote to a level 2 role since my background is different. Okay, Stephanie. My opinion is going to depend, right? How much are you currently getting paid now, right? So let's say you're getting paid $200,000 currently, right? And your new role you're going to get is going to pay you $160, $170. Are you okay with that drop off in temporary salary? Because I'm assuming once you hit the higher band for that threat intelligence or threat hunting role, you'll make more money than your cloud engineering role, right? For let's say you're taking a temporary dip in salary for let's say 12 to 18 months. Are you okay with losing that temporary money to make more money in the long run? And will this new role make you more happy than your current role, right? Factor that into the equation. And second thing would be the new state you're moving to. Is that state you're comfortable with? Do you have kids? Are you married? Are you a single guy or gal by yourself where you can pick up pretty easily and move back if need be? And more things to factor in, right? So just think about that. And then basically how to navigate it, right? We have courses personally, I'm shameless plug, to kind of help you out with that as well. Or you can directly ask the questions here or after the chat, after the call to kind of help you out with that. But just think about it from like a holistic perspective. This would be a big move, right? Second, I guess fourth thing would be, is this a firm you want to stay in at? I don't know what firm you work at, but it's a firm with a lot of different growth opportunities, or is it not? So there's a couple of things to factor in for your final decision, right? Then I kind of trust your gut at the end of the day. This is your career and your life. So do what's best for you and your family, I'd probably say. Nigel?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly you covered it. I would factor in obviously how much is the dip. Do I have opportunity to go to a 3 or the threshold to a 3 as a threat hunter if I take this dip? I guess the biggest thing is the location. Am I okay with moving to the state? Like you said, family, is the work-life balance, those are I hate to say it like this, but like those things are more important than, let's say, I hate to say it like this, but like the salary is going to come, obviously, that because you have some technical background, right? The fact that you even have the opportunity to now switch a domain like that, going from like cloud security all the way to threat hunting and IR. I know threat hunting and IR probably has a wider net and opportunities for you to grow your salary, but like I wouldn't neglect the work-life balance, location, family, things of that nature. Because as I've learned, as I continue to climb the ladder, those things are what I kind of like keep in my brain as a negotiating part to the roles that I want.
Yeah, because honestly, if you're really good in cybersecurity, you know how to kind of brand yourself, you're gonna make money in this field, honestly. Right. So it's gonna be, and it sounds like you're doing level 2, level 3, you work at a decent sized tech company, so you're probably getting paid pretty well either way. So definitely you're gonna make money, Stephanie. I would say like those other factors should probably play in at a pretty significant clip for what you want to do, right? So kind of like think through it that way. But again, I don't know your financial situation, right? We're just kind of giving you general advice based on what you told us so far. If you want to tell us more privately outside of this, just let us know. We're here to help you out. Let's see. Any more questions? If we're caught up. If we're caught up now. Awesome. So another thing I want to kind of talk to, I guess, the audience about is kind of like what area of cybersecurity you want to go inside of. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, Nigel, right? Kind of figuring that out. My advice towards people, depending on what level you're at, if you're a career transitioner, then I would say do not be picky, honestly, right? The more flexible you are, the more opportunities you will get. So if someone offers you, let's say a role paying you $80,000, but for like an account manager position, you've been looking for 9 months, I'd probably take it, right? Even if it's in person, right? Because someone else will definitely take the opportunity if you don't take it, right? So if you can make it work and it wouldn't be patient, then that's probably the best route for you, for example. Your thoughts on that, Nigel?
Well, I agree. I'll keep it simple. I was doing help desk. I was, got the opportunity to apply and interview for my role was actually a level 2, but once I got the offer, I just signed it. There was no negotiation. There was no going back and forth. I was like, yep, thank you. Yeah. It's one of those things where, you want to, like you said, take advantage of the opportunity because the money will come, and getting your foot in the door is very important, right? I'm sure people who are, trying to get that first step in the field understand how competitive it is. So especially for your first role and with no prior background, to go in there and kind of like, I'm not saying don't let them undervalue you, but if it's something where, you can see the long-term progression and say, okay, using Kenneth's example, if it's a technical, like it's a TAM, a technical account manager for 80,000, take that. And then if it's, let's say at a company like CrowdStrike, the opportunities are pretty much endless, right? So let's say you want to do like engineering or cyber threat intelligence or whatever, like, it's easier to do an internal promotion than external. So if I'm already at CrowdStrike as a technical account manager, and my goal is really to be a cloud security engineer, it's going to be way easier once I accept the technical account manager role. So I would, that goes into my tactic and my strategy on how I got into my role. And that's what I use when I mentor people as well, is try to think long term.
Yeah, because for me, when I got my first offer out of college, full-time offer, it was for a software engineering position, and I do not like programming. Honestly, Nigel, this was like my third choice. Like, oh, Kenneth, we're here to congratulate you and give you your offer. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm so thankful for this. I did not want to. I was going to tell them, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But then they told me that no. I was like, hold up. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, what'd you just say? They're like, this and no. I was like, oh, really? I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I told my parents, they're like, yeah, I should probably take it, Kenneth.
Yeah.
I talked towards a lot of my mentors too. They said I can always pivot out of it if need be. And having a software engineering background will be helpful for any like technical role. So even though I don't like programming, I took the role, right? And then after like a year, I pivoted to sort of like a sim engineering position at the same firm, right? I was very upfront. I'm like, hey, like eventually I'm going to do cybersecurity. That's like what my passion is, right? And I kind of like kept networking with like the directors of it over and over again. And then eventually they let me transfer out. And from there, I got the opportunity to go to UI and kind of really kind of changed my career. So again, do not be picky, right? I speak from first-hand experience, because most of you guys know, if you know who I am, like, I don't like programming. That's not my thing. Like sitting all day on desk, building job applications for businesses is god awfully boring to me. Um, I I couldn't do it. I was reading I think Java fundamentals for my exam for Java,
Yeah.
and this is when I moved to Texas. So Nigel, I didn't have anything. I had no desk, no table. It was just like a boxes stacked on top of each other, and just
Yeah.
my gaming chair. I was in
Yeah.
the corner of my room.
Yeah.
I was like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, yep. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It was really painful just to study for it. I was just depressed. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like in I think April or May, and then I transferred out that July. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was painful.
No, I get it. I mean, doing help desk, obviously, it wasn't the most. I mean, I don't even want to say it wasn't exciting, because you would get some interesting calls, but I just knew, like, I can't wait to get my security role, because same thing. I was like, I had a little desk in the corner of my little office space, and I was just like answering calls and password resets and people not knowing how to like fix their printers and stuff. I'm just like, but I'm on the side, like kind of learning about security and encryption and all these things. I'm like, I can't wait to finally do what I really want to do. And starting at a help desk at a firm that I knew had a security team that was, quite not large, but there was opportunity to join. I was like, I'll take that pay cut and do help desk. And then find a way to network and internally move. So
Yeah, definitely gotta be flexible. The more flexible you are, the better off you'd be.
yeah.
Are there any other questions for us at all in the chat? Feel free to put them down. Still have another probably 15 more minutes. So feel free to drop any questions for any of us at all. We're here to help you guys out. And then next topic I want to talk to you about would be interviewing as well, Nigel. So I'll let you go first from my perspective different because I am a hiring manager and I have a staffing company. So I kind of see it through both lenses now. So it's very interesting.
Interviewing. Yeah. I actually like interviewing. Uh, you know, so I have, people reach out, recruiters reach out all the time. Yeah, we have this role, blah, 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 blah. Usually more times than not, I do it more to just stay sharp, right? Being able to understand what the market is, what are some of the demands and things of that nature. But as far as like going through like technical round interview, behavioral round interview, the thing that I tell like a lot of my mentees is you have to remember, one, it's a competition. So you need to figure out things to make you stand out. And what I've figured out that I think is helpful, and I've helped people get jobs and they come back and they're like, yeah, that work, is using charisma and energy during interviews, right? Because you have to remember, this hiring manager is going to interview hundreds of people and they're going to come most likely 80, I would say like 70 to 85% of them are going to come in, they're going to have the whole interview layout, right? They're going to have their suit on or dress business casual. They're going to come in, they're going to try and say all the right things. I tell people, go in there and do those things, but bring energy, like be animated. Like, Kenneth, man, thank you. Really, thank you for the opportunity to give me this interview. And then you ask me a question. Repeating the question back sometimes is really good to let you know that you heard it. So, thank you, Kenneth. What do I know about cyber threat intelligence? Do I know the different types of phases and stuff like that? That's a great question. Thank you for asking me that. I couldn't wait for you to ask that. But you have to know the answers. But if you put that extra charisma as you're answering questions, I guarantee you when that interviewer is done, he's going to sit back and be like, dang, like Nigel's like really passionate about cybersecurity. Like he came with energy. He knew the answers. He asked good questions at the end. And that little inkling could help you keep in that manager's brain. Like he can do the job. He knows what he's talking about and he has energy and he's passionate. So that's someone I would want to invest with long term. Right? That's what businesses and companies want to do. They're not hiring you for just to do the job currently because goals for the business are going to change. Can I invest in Nigel long term and will that be lucrative for the business? So if you come in with passion and you sell the passion and all of that, it'll help you stick out in those interviews while the rest of everyone else is going to like answer like robots and like, yes, I know, so that's something that I tell people. I think it helps out a lot. And it's something that you may have to practice, right? Record yourself and be animated, be very, outgoing, joyful, things of this nature. And I think it'll help out a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I would say if we step like 2 steps back, right, from the actual application period, please read the actual instructions, right? So for some of the roles we're recruiting for now, a lot of them are, again, state and federal, so they require you to be a U.S. citizen, right? In fact, people, Marquisha, people that have applied from like Portugal or like Peru, like, hey, can I work remotely? I'm like, no, I'm like, get a U.S. citizen. It says work in office, all right, on site. They're like, wait, what's that? It can't be remote? What? It can't? I'm like, no. So please read the instructions for what the role says. Another thing is, someone asks you a question of Nigel, I'm like, Nigel, how many years have you been in cybersecurity? Don't put yes or no, all right? That doesn't help me out, all right? And people do that. They're like, yes, no. I'm like, Nigel, ask for your name. You put yes. I'm like, that doesn't help me out.
Yeah.
So please, I tell all of you guys, read the instructions, right? I would say maybe 50-60% people that apply towards their positions get auto disqualified because of that. They don't like read the instructions. They don't put their names down, right? They don't put their information down, right? They don't just pay attention or do the basic instructions, right? So I tell people the bar, that's actually pretty low, right? Couple of things. One, read those instructions, right? please put your name down. If someone asks your name, don't put yes. That doesn't help us and it doesn't help me out, right? 2, right? Try to get an internal referral, right? And by internal referral, I mean someone that actually works there that has preferably worked with you in the past, right? That person's more willing to vouch for you, right? So the way I think of referrals, right? Normally, when you're in an interview, your job is to prove towards me why I should hire you, right? When you get referred, it's the opposite. It's your job to prove to me why I shouldn't hire you, right? That's my mindset, right? So Nigel, if you referred someone towards me, right, they would almost have to slash me in the face with like a knife for me not to hire them, right? Because you referred me towards them, and I trust your opinion a lot, right? So that's the way you guys should look at it, right? If someone's going to refer you, it's much more likely you're going to get placed in that side position if you know what you're doing, right? Compared to where it's the other way, right? But human beings are very emotional creatures, right? And they're more justified with logic on the back end, right? So if you're able to get referred, ideally, which goes back to networking, using LinkedIn in person, doesn't matter, right? Just get it done. You'll increase your chances quite tremendously. Because for most of the positions I've gotten, I've been referred for almost all of them throughout my career. I rarely ever just apply directly on the site. It's most of my jobs I've gotten through referrals. People have come towards me with the opportunities.
I can add to that just quickly. I was referred as well, but goes back to the networking. I displayed my whole journey on LinkedIn. So it kind of spoke for itself, but the referral kind of solidified it, right? So the fact that the SOC manager at my firm reached out to me and said, hey, I see, your journey of try hack me, you got your security plus. And then when the role was able to be open, one of the analysts on the team said, hey, we got this opening. What's your resume? I can send to the hiring manager. And then that was it.
Yeah. Definitely able to get referred. Definitely do it. It'll definitely help your chances out, right? Because your resume will go towards the top of the pile. It does for mine, all right? Because I trust that person. And making a bad hire is very, very expensive for a business. And thankfully, I haven't had a bad hire yet. So I'm trying to avoid that. That's why normally I'll go for Nigel or Henry or Tiara or Markeisha, right? Or Grace, one of her staff members, right? I'll ask them, hey guys, do you have anybody that can fill a position? Same thing for you, Nigel. When I was picking you up for our team, I asked Hunter. He's like, "Yeah." Hunter's like, "Yeah, he's good to go." I'm like, "All right, say less. You're hired, right?" Because if I don't, I have to put a job out, then get all these candidates, screen them, interview them, talk towards them, which is a lot of work, right? Much easier to me just ask my internal network because I trust them about these various opportunities that we have, and then try to hire someone that way, right? So your job as a candidate is to make your future manager's job as easy as possible for them to hire you. The better you're able to do that, the more likely you already get a job. Let's see. I think that should be it. Any last minute questions at all, guys, for us at all? Again, we'll be doing this another 2 weeks. So we'll be doing this probably twice a month moving forward. So you guys can kind of get more access towards us and ask just different questions about our careers and business journeys as well. I'll have a more laid out topic plan moving forward. So you guys will kind of get a sense of that as well. I'll send that towards you as well, Nigel. So everyone on the team kind of gets to have it. Oh, one last question. Hey, I'm currently working in retail after teaching middle school for 2 years. I've completed my MBA and have a concentration in cybersecurity, but no certs. And I am currently trying to transition into tech. I went to Black Men in Tech conference and meetup near me in Broward County, Florida, this past year. But honestly, I still have no clear direction and would like to know, do you have a group that I can join to be in the community? So for our stuff, for our Slack channel, that's only for ECM members. So anybody that's paid for a course or been taught by like Nigel or one of myself or my staff members get access towards it. We keep it very small and niche. Make sure it doesn't get wild or out of control. There are other good resources I can send you to as well. Brendan, I know Henry has a new Discord channel as well. They has one too. So does Damien. Those are all really good friends of mine. They can definitely kind of give you some guidance on that path of what community to kind of join as well. And I have some students in Miami as well that can kind of talk to you too. I kind of collaborate with them. They've talked towards me outside of this as well. Just DM me on LinkedIn or Nigel. It will help you out. Yeah, there's a lot of really good communities out there that can kind of help you guys out too. I'm outside of ECA, so you have questions about it, just let us know. But definitely that's really important. Having the like-minded mindset of a good community is super important because you are some of the most, was it the 5 most common people you hang around, Nigel?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I think it's actually too, after Scott Galloway's thing, it's like you're like the sum of the like how much money they make and the weight and the politics that they have as well, right? So who you hang around is like really important. Yeah, so definitely, guys, if you have questions about that at all, just let us know. We're kind of here to support you.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just say just reach out. You took the first couple of steps to this, right? If you're still not having a clear path or roadmap on how to get into the field, reach out to myself or Kenneth and we can help guide you.
Any last minute questions? If not, then that'll be it for this week's session of the AMM or Ask Me Anything session. Again, we'll be back on in 2 weeks with the various new topics. More like I want to cover kind of comparing to the SIM platforms and kind of go over that for like which one is the best and which one's the best to learn. It's fun, by the way. Anyways,
I didn't know you were gonna say that.
it is, man. Oh, some of them are so trash. Anyways, I digress. That's it for tonight. You guys have any questions, just feel free to DM us, ping us, email us. We're here to support you. Otherwise, peace.
All right, man. Take care.